I might hit my current maximum capacity and then start to go back down. But the thing is, there's so many more levels above this. And can I recalibrate my nervous system to the place to where I can relax into this? I can be present with all of it. I can navigate it and be decisive in it to where this is just my next baseline. I feel like today I'm coming from a space of just not enough time, not enough time to get things done, and connecting with the idea that I'm creating a reality where I don't have enough time to get things done versus flowing into it and realizing that it's not as much as I may think. And what happens is, like, if I flow into it, I'll get things done a lot quicker. I'll realize, oh, that's all that it really took. Sometimes it takes longer than I thought, but um, yeah, just giving myself, I guess, giving time, giving life the space to just flow, just life the space to.
So what ways do you think you're not giving yourself the time?
Oh, I'm just already thinking about what I got to do next, type of thing. Like, I got to do this, I got to do that. Which those things, they will happen, and I guess trying to time manage every little thing, thinking that, feeling like I have limited resources of energy, blah blah blah. It's just getting ahead of myself a little bit.
I don't think so. I don't think those kind of things are necessary because it becomes such a habit. And so often we're coming from this habit of gotta be going, gotta be doing that you end up in this go, go, go kind of mentality. And I know for several of my clients, I've had them fill out daily tracker sheets. And I did that for one of my earlier, more effective like coaching experiences is my coach had me fill out a timing, like a daily log of all my hours. And that really helped me become aware of how I was using my time. And I became a lot better at managing my time. But I also recognize that it can easily become a micromanagey thing where every moment, every hour has to be figured out. And I feel that that goes into a place of control where if I don't have everything together, then it's all going to fall apart. And for me, when I'm in that kind of space, it feels like I'm not trusting that life is going to be going how it's supposed to be going. I don't want to say regardless, because you can be completely unconscious and allow things to just kind of go off the rails. And then what you're going to get is going to be possibly more painful. But how, at least when you're putting intention and when you're putting your energy towards your goals and your set, to me, there comes a sense of relaxation in the understanding that the all's got me. And as long as I'm putting my intention and my effort towards what I'm working towards, then everything is going to be okay around. So I'm curious about like what's going on right now for you of like getting you in this state of not feeling like there's enough time. You gotta go, go, go.
Uh, I think I let it go already. I think I let it go, and now I'm thinking about Colombia because I know those are the things that we talked about. And I feel like just talking about it is like, yeah, cool. It's gonna get done. Just about kind of getting grounded, recentered. I
Mm,
feel.
So what do you think? Let's go into the process that you've gone through or the process that I've gone through about getting to that point that basically mentioning something and hearing whatever reflection you need about it gets you so quickly to that state of, yeah, I think I'm good now.
Mm,
Because I know that that's not the case for so many people and so often
mm,
that it takes so much more and so much longer. Because I know that for me, for the longest time, it took me forever to let things go, to let things be, to just allow and to trust. So
I
what would you
think
say your process too there has been? Yeah, just wanting to be witnessed. That's
the
definitely
feminine
something
does
that I
that
feel.
sometimes. And the feminine, because we know we have feminine within us. When the feminine's like arguing and like you're like, what is this all about? And they don't want to hear the logic. They just want to be seen and be heard.
Oh yeah.
And to a degree, it's the same for us too. One of the things that I'm learning is that in business, the way to get men to open up and to want to build trust um, and to want to do more business with you uh, is for you to make their feminine feel safe with them. If their feminine feels safe, they can express themselves. They can open up. Now there's trust. Now they're expressing their creative ideas, and now all of a sudden business is getting done. All of a sudden they're giving you money. So I think for me it was just like this space where the feminine side of me, wants to feel safe because there's spaces where I am and where it feels like, I have to, sometimes put up a mask, even though, the goal is for me to actually become a maskless man. But, I think, just going through a day where there were so many different meetings, I think I just wanted to be seen and just witnessed. So I appreciate you doing that.
You're welcome. Apologies for yawning in the middle of that statement. Man, I mentioned to you before we started recording, but this, not my move, but my roommate moving out and now me repurposing all the space
Mm,
has been a beautiful process
mm,
and has also cut into my sleep a good bit because a few
mm,
friends who are incredible at designing and redecorating and stuff have come over and helped me. It's anybody who feels that this is a terrible setup, and any of you who might be watching this know that I just kind of did this to cover up some weirdness on the wall and I'm figuring this out. So yeah. But it's gotten me in this state of not the time constraint, lack of energy, or the feeling like there's not enough time. But most of today, I was feeling very like, I don't have the energy for this. I don't have the bandwidth for this.
mm,
'Cause last night, well, one of my friends was over helping me rearrange a few things. I stayed up way later than I usually do, which it was probably 2:30, I think, when she left.
wha-
I told her like that's fine because I have enough PTO to burn right now that I'm gonna be losing anyways. So like, it's fine. I'll go into work late in the morning. So I went ahead and slept a good bit and then went in and got a good bit done, but also most of the day it was just kind of, oh man, there's so much to do with all this move. I want to get this done. I need to get the podcast space set up.
mm,
And then I got to take care of the dog and I got to do this. And it took me a second to just recognize, yeah, these are things that will get done. And if they're not done right now, that's okay. So I called you a minute before we actually started recording, just to kind of show you around
yeah.
as this way really of calming and soothing myself of like, okay, been doing a lot, doing all this stuff, showing you around because right now I don't know exactly where my dedicated podcasting space is going to be. Kind of see if like anything were to like jump out at you or jump out at me rather, and just in the moment of showing you around. And it was nice just to finally kind of let that go. I'd asked you for the 15 minutes to delay first. So just recognizing, what do I need right now? I need a bit of time so I can sit for a second, eat some food, and then jump on this. It's been a challenging practice for me to honor
Mhm.
that, recognizing, what do I need right now? I need to not go out and do things. I'm not going to go out and do things.
Mm,
Like this weekend, Friday I moved a whole bunch of stuff here at the house. Saturday I slept in, took care of the dogs, cleaned and organized stuff around here, went to the Light Beings potluck.
mm,
And the Sunday, I kind of wanted to go to the hike. I was like, there's more stuff to do here at the house.
mm,
And I wanted to go to the activation circle later in the evening. And I'd even told a few people that's my intention. But then as I was cleaning and organizing, I recognized this is really asking for my attention right now. And so much in me was wanting to get as much done as I could, because when my space is clean and organized, I feel so much more solid
mm.
in so many areas. But it's taken me forever to see this and recognize this in myself, of an aspect of me that I need to honor, not think like, oh, I got to push through this. I like, it's not a big deal. Or what would be the flip side of that?
But this is not a big deal is maybe just maybe overindulging, maybe over, not, I don't want to say pampering yourself, but just, yeah, maybe giving yourself too much.
Yeah. Like, so like going from those extremes of this isn't a big deal, push through,
Mhm.
to overindulging in resting. In any of my encouragements that I put out that I'm encouraging people to rest, I mean it. But there's also a part of me that's very wary of telling people to rest, because I'm also very aware of people who that's kind of all they do. They might do their 9 to 5 job and then get home and then they don't move again
Yeah.
for the rest of the evening. And then I know some people, there's people even at my work that have talked to me about how like, oh, I just feel tired all the time. And I asked them about their regular life, and I recognize, okay, they're not eating very well. They're not working out. They're not really going outside that often. Most of their social interaction is just at work. And most of their movement is like getting up and down to go to the bathroom.
Mm.
And so to me, it becomes very clear, you're not really giving your body all that much of what it needs. There's this thing that today I heard it for the second or third time, about how apparently Trump has this idea that he moves as little as possible because he believes that we all have a finite number of movements, and that I guess when he hits that number, he's gonna just instantly die. According to someone on the radio today, I don't know, maybe he doesn't actually believe that, but someone on the radio is mentioning that. And whether or not it's true that he believes it doesn't matter. It brought to mind how for the longest time, I believed that we're perpetual motion machines, and that the more we move and the more often we move, the more we're able to move and the longer we're going to be able to move. And I believed that wholeheartedly as a kid, moved all the time, played all the time, and just always going. And I had so much energy. And then through a lot of my 20s, I was sitting, I was very sedentary, college, weed, all kinds of stuff, video games, movies, TV, sedentary throughout so much of my 20s. And I felt like my body was just, oh, like I don't want, I can't, like I don't have the energy. And now in my 30s, I've gotten back to working out like a lot,
Mm.
running and walking a lot. And now I have so much energy and so much more energy that it's so much fun to play with. And so then I get hit days like this where it's like, I'm sleepy. So it becomes this weird thing to deal with in my head and figure out.
I think when it comes to movement, if you don't use it, you definitely lose it, whether it's brain functionality, working out, not working out your muscles. I think they're all muscles to some degree. It all has to be worked, to verbal communication, practicing your speech, socializing. During COVID, when we went through a phase of like not socializing and then going back out and socializing again as they open things back up. And I remember I felt socially awkward. I would joke about with my friends, like how awkward it was to go up and approach somebody that I didn't know, like say like a girl or something like that. How awkward that would be. Like, who does it anymore? Like, we talk to people on apps now and through text. So I definitely think these things, I would agree with you, are muscles to be worked. I remember I had a great aunt, Auntie Bernice, and she would live into like her late 80s or early 90s, and she would walk every day. She would wrestle me, I think, into her 70s or maybe like low 80s. She would wrestle with me when I was like a little kid, and she's in
Man.
pretty good shape and health.
Mhm.
And I even see on Instagram, like you'll see these people that are like vegan and in their 70s and male and female, and they look super young. They look like they could be in their 40s and they still may lift and they eat really healthy. And most of the time it's mainly a plant-based diet, but they take care of their bodies. So I definitely believe in actually moving versus not moving. Now I think you can overdo it for sure. And I think it's about understanding what our limits are and, kind of going from there. So I would agree, man.
I would say I'm curious about changing or using more the language of capacity when it comes to like physical movement.
Mm,
Like Kevin talks about with growth and whatnot, but like capacity with physical movement as well, rather than limit, because it might be the limit of your current state. So like this is your capacity, but then you can push it. Because I've hit a point where like 150 feels like a plateau that I just like kind of can't get past.
mm,
But I finally hit a point where 150 is solid, where I
mhm,
can go several weeks without working out like crazy
mhm,
and I don't drop below 150.
mm,
And so that in and of itself is a beautiful accomplishment for me
mm.
because for so much of my life I was 130,
Wow,
maybe 140 in
wow,
a good time. I had
yeah,
been 150 one other brief period of time. I think it was like a 6-month period. But I'm starting to think about that of like the way I think about when I'm working
mm,
out. Yeah, this might be my capacity right now, but I can push that forward. I can push that more. I see it with bench presses. When I first got the Smith machine that Rico gave me, I was getting back into a lot of heavier presses and I could kind of only push and press maybe about 120 and 130. And I
yeah,
was like, oh, fuck, wow. And then took me maybe a week or so to get back up to like a decent weight. And then like a week and a half to 2 weeks to where I got back to 160 and then be able to actually push that well. And then now I can do a full set of 160, which
yeah,
is just over my body weight. So I'm
mhm,
happy about that. But now I'm like, okay, bet this is raising that capacity up and up. And so where is that next level and where
yeah,
is that next step?
yeah. I love it.
So how can I find the energy?
Yeah, what that brings up to me for me is just like in life, right? We're gonna take limit or limitation, and we're gonna substitute that with current maximum capacity. And so this is my current maximum capacity. Can this current maximum capacity, could that be my new baseline, right? How 150,
Mm,
right, was your maximum weight, and then now that's your new baseline. You won't go below 150. I feel like that's life. And like that's the period that I'm going through now where it's like, okay, we've had the podcast going for a while, right? We've had some momentum. I know we've skipped weeks of recording. Things at work have been going well. I'm reaching a new level of success at work. Dating's going pretty well. Like things are going pretty well. And it's been times like this in the past to where maybe I might hit my current maximum capacity and then start to go back down. But the thing is like there's so many more levels above this. And can I recalibrate my nervous system to the place to where I can relax into this, I can be present with all of it, I can navigate it and be decisive in it to where this is just my next baseline. And then there's
I love that.
a whole new range of motion to kind of go through. And I think that's
Mm,
life, man. The program I'm doing now, the Reborn program is really about that. It talks about the peaks and valleys that people go through. See a lot of people like the most they've ever made was $400,000. For me, $1,000 in a year is a lot, right? But for a lot of people, that might not be. They want to get to a million or a multi-million, right? And so you hear these stories of men who will start these businesses or they do these things and they would hit $400,000 and they lose it all. Hit $700,000, you lose it all. Hit whatever it was, but they're doing this. And my intention and goal is to, instead of having to come back down, like with the Hermetic principles, the law of rhythm, where if it goes up, it must come back down. There's a way where you can polarize yourself, right, so that you don't have to come back down, and so that peak becomes your valley, right, because that's your new baseline. And so that's literally what we're going through now. And instead of like it, so okay, I'm gonna try to keep this in camera, right, because what I was just saying will kind of look like this, but what if the trajectory of life could just look like this, right? And so that is the quantum reality that I'm looking to step into, to where the current maximum capacity is always going to be challenged. The edge, as we say in creative, is always going to be met, and to where there's going to be a constant recalibration so that there doesn't have to be a crash. It can all be managed and handled. It can all be held.
That is beautiful. I mean, I initially, when you said it, my first thought was, well, I mean, the law of rhythm. Now, of course, you can't, because everything is in swing and everything is in this cycle. But not necessarily when it comes to our growth and our learning. Because of that polarization, there will still be plenty of things. And then in the Kabbalion, they talk about how with the law of rhythm, things swing from the negative, for lack of a better word right now, to the positive. So the challenge of the lesson to the joy of the lesson, but they're not swinging back as you learn it. Once you learn the thing, you're not then, now I have to go back to this thing. It's only going back if you don't get it, if you don't learn it. I love that, because I can see how that would work, of that, okay, it's swinging from this side and it swings over, you get the lesson, and then you move forward, and then you're on your next thing. So that's just over here. And then it swings, and then, okay, you get it and go. Granted, that does feel, as I speak it feels like this constant work and this constant, which I don't know if that sounds a little terrifying and maybe just exhausting because it sounds like so much, or if that sounds really exciting. So there's a parts of me that feels both.
Yeah.
Like, even just considering that idea.
I think we got to get Eddie Yemi on here. No, if he want to come on here, but I think the way to cut through it is just authenticity, because as I've been going through this experience, I've been sharing with you, like, things have been increasing a lot with business. Things have been increasing a lot in the dating space, all those different areas. What I'm finding is, even though sometimes I get tired and you just got over this ease I was feeling, I'm still having more results with less effort, because I'm learning how to drop my mask and just be more authentic. And truth is the strongest vibration in the universe, 4 times stronger than love. So if embodying truth and your truest authentic expression, if you're in that space and you're not wasting energy on mask and trying to be something that you're not and doing things that aren't truly aligned with you, then actually it does become a lot easier. So it's funny, because I've seen people who have talked about these quantum jumps and leaps that we're talking about, and they're like, it almost doesn't feel real because I feel like I'm not really working, is what they'll say. So it's cool, this idea, like, imagine this concept. If you're not already there, having fun, you're feeling like you're not really working, and just opportunities are falling into your lap because you are in your most authentic vibration. And so you're just going from new baseline to new baseline to new baseline. As long as you continue to meet yourself and recalibrate your nervous system and stay in your truth and continue to, increase your capacity and continue the momentum. There is some work, but if you think about it like this, when you crash, right, it takes 2.5 times the amount of effort to get that thing going again, right? So if you can just keep the momentum, right, you're not going to spend that 2.5 times energy to get it going again. You're just going to have to spend that one time. You know what I'm trying to say? You just have to keep it going. So there's less energy and effort that actually goes into it to keep it going.
And now, as you saying it like this, it makes me now start thinking and wondering, maybe this is just a part of me that's kind of addicted to the valleys portions of things.
Yes, bro.
That feels attached to this process of, but things gotta feel terrible for a little while. Like you just mentioned it, with this, like, it doesn't feel real. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm working for it. And so you mentioned a moment ago how it doesn't feel real because you're not working hard for it. I believe it's Mystic Jesus the book that Marianne Williamson mentions how people are feeling, or she was starting to see so many things coming into her life and happening that she was feeling this can't be real, and clearly I don't deserve this because I'm not working hard. And how so many people have this mindset of it's only worth it if you work hard for it. And I get that. Like, I would say that I was like quasi blue collared in a way, and that my dad had a desk job on the base, but he also was working with his hands the whole time because he was building things, electrical, like a mechanical engineer, or electrical engineer on the mechanical side. And so his mindset in some ways was kind of blue collary, this working with your hands, but then not quite fully. But I still grew up with that kind of idea of like work my ass off, and like I've taken care of myself for such a long time, and I provided for myself for such a long time that I'm solid in knowing that if shit hits the fan with this job, that job, these things, I know how to work and I know how to take care of myself. But that feels like, as I'm saying it and thinking about it in this context, it feels so limiting right now, because now my mind is going to what Jesus talked about how living as the animals, as the birds of the field, that God provides clothing and everything for them. How much more would he not provide for us? But there's definitely that fear of, so I just let go of all of this and trust.
Yeah, a lot of it, you hear these things about, these analogies about climbing a mountain, and you know, it's easier to climb the mountain the more stuff you let go of, and the more weight you take off of yourself. It's a real thing. So like, think about it like this, and this is reborn, this is Adiyeme, where I'm kind of absorbing this, but the clearer your energetic field, right, where there's not conflicting energies, where everything's aligned, the clearer your field, the easier it is for you to just kind of penetrate and go through life. It doesn't have to be hard. And so sometimes people think they have to have all this stuff, and it's all this stuff that can weigh a person down, versus lightening the load and just going through life a lot easier. And so that's been a big part of my journey, is like, where can I lighten my load energetically? Like, where are things not aligned? What do I need to let go of in my space so that I can move forward? And it's funny because now, as I've started to have some success with this new practices, I've attracted more stuff to me again. And so now I have to go this aside again. It's like, okay, I need to lighten my load anywhere. Where do I need to get clear? So it's this constant process of getting clear. I need to lighten the load, right? Because as you start to gain momentum, you're going to become more magnetic, you're going to attract more and more things to you. So you just get better and more attuned at getting clear, lightening the load, what's pertinent, what's important to keep in your space.
And I love that you mentioned that and brought that up, because with this process of my roommate moving out and me changing things around in my house, with my friends who came over to help me move things around, one of them very bluntly made this observation of like, you have so much crap you don't need. She made a joke about not hoarding, basically a pack rat joke. And it hit me as only borderline, because like my granddad was hardcore. He had a garage in his backyard that was just packed full of so much stuff. And cleaning that out after he passed was a whole process.
Yeah.
And I've gone through times of most of my moves, I'll get rid of a lot of things that I don't need, but also looking through it this time, and because I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job, but looking through some of the stuff she was talking about, I realized there's so many little mementos that, yes, they're nice to have, they're nice to hold on to, but they're not actually necessary. I don't actually need them, and they are taking up space, or they're collecting dust.
Yeah.
And I don't want that, because they might represent things I don't need or that aren't in my life anymore. I can hold on to the memories myself. I can have them. And so I started doing that. And one thing, I have this specific memento box for special memories and things. And I have a whole bunch of movie tickets. Because I was collecting them for a while. But as I was going through that, I found a letter from my ex-wife. And so as I started rereading it, I realized when the letter was from and what it was. And it was basically this apology and recognition letter of her apologizing for pushing me away, for being in a bad spot mentally, and knowing that she needed help, like admitting all of these things. And I remember reading it the first time and tearing up and crying, but it not having this, or it having an effect, but not such a deep effect that I was like, okay, bet, this is her cry for help. Let me go in and do it. Because I was so lost in my own bullshit at the time that I wasn't able to really see it. And so I took this letter. I took a letter that I had written for myself not very long ago, and then a picture from a date that I'd had with a girl that I ended up hurting because even though I liked her, after the date, I was like, I can tell this isn't right. I'm sorry, but I can feel it. And I thought things were going to shift as we went on this date, but they haven't. They aren't. So and in a longer process, like I ended up hurting her. And so I took these 3 letters as like to have a little ceremony for myself. And I went and lit my first fire of the season out on my back porch. And I read the entire letter, folded it up, said a little prayer of thank you and goodbye. And I'm sorry that I didn't see this. So I didn't really have the maturity to understand what this was. And then I burned it. And because it was this prayer of let the energy goes where it needs to be gone. So that way, if it's an energetic thing that she needs to feel, cool, let her feel it. And if it isn't, cool, let it go somewhere else, wherever, back into the ether. And then I did a similar thing with a picture and let that represent any and all women that I have wounded or hurt in any way. I thought about several different instances where I've definitely caused pain, and I asked for forgiveness of those, and I looked at that as forgiveness for me, and I burned that. And then the letter was a letter I'd written to myself for forgiving myself and recognizing all of the pain and challenge that I brought into Valentina, my ex-girlfriend's life. And so rereading that letter was a lot because I laid it all out in this letter and it was long as fuck. And so I was able to see myself in these different situations from such a weird new view because I'm in my state now. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I've recognized a lot. And it was so cool to be like, damn, I really didn't see this first letter for what it was. And then, damn, I really didn't hold several women very well. And then, damn, I really hurt somebody and was too stubborn or too stuck in where I was at to be soft enough to see it for what it was. And this pattern that I was seeing. And it was so cool that I finally found those so that I could have this burning ceremony for myself and release it during this time of moving and transition, because there's been so many other little things that I've been noticing of like little messages of you're coming into your own, you're about to go through this big growth, you're blah, blah, blah. And yes, I love those and that's very nice, but I'm also not going around being like, what's coming? What's on its way? It's something, I don't know what it is. We'll see what it is when it gets there.
Yeah.
But it has been so nice.
I was gonna say, man, I think it's so important to like reset the energy in the house and make that a consistent practice. First thing I do when I wake up, one of the first things almost every day, right? Obviously, make up the bed and stuff like that, but it's also there's trash that needs to be taken out. There's any dishes in the sink. If there's mail where it's not supposed to be, just little things. Laundry that needs to be washed. Just little things that need to be done to reset the energy in the homes. Like when I look at my home, like it looks orderly, it looks neat, and that's a newer thing in the last maybe 1 or 2 years or so. That hasn't been up my whole life, but since I started doing that, it's made such a difference. And to your
I like
point
that.
about
That's
finding the
something you do in your
mementos,
like morning routine?
yeah, like yeah, it's a part of my morning tune. Yeah, it's resetting the
Nice.
energy in the home for sure.
I love
Sometimes
that.
that could be lighting sage, but also too, you know, periodically going through my closet, what clothes have I not worn in the last year? I think her name is Marie Kondo, thing on Netflix where she talks about this practice. Somebody told me about it, but anything that hasn't been used within the last year, throw it out, get rid of it. So I've done that at least 3 times now between clothes and different dishes and pots and pans that I never use and plastic Tupperware. And it's always created just enough space for me to bring in what I need to bring in. Love my archangels and ascended masters. And so I didn't have spaces to put them within some cabinets, threw out a bunch of Tupperware that I never used and was able to fit that in there. And had a bunch of stuff in my bathroom, a bunch of like Clorox bleach and a Lysol type stuff that was just on the floor, just completely making the bathroom look more messy than it needed to. Cleared out the cabinet of a bunch of other stuff that didn't need, put those cleaning products inside the cabinet. Bathroom feels so much better. These little things that you can do on a daily basis, on a periodic basis, that just changes the energy and it feels really, really good.
Yeah. I'm thinking about incorporating that in my morning routine. So I love that. Because I would much rather get the things done when I have a decent amount of time to do it. And that sounds like a good time, just waking up maybe 15, 30 minutes early to dedicate to that and having that clear space first thing.
100%.
Because having a clean kitchen is very important to me. And having a neat space is important to me. Whereas not everything needs to be pristine.
Yeah.
But I do want things to be where they go. So right now I see like have a sauce packet from Chick-fil-A sitting on my desk because I eat there pretty often. And sometimes I will leave something there and I won't really think about it. this can go in my little sauce area or it can go in the trash, but I need to handle that. And you
100%.
mentioned the mail sitting around, big one for me. I'm pretty good about separating the mail. This is clearly junk I do not need. Immediately goes in recycling.
Mhm.
And then the stuff that it's probably junk, or I probably don't need it that bad, or I just need to file this away, or maybe look at it for a moment and then file it away. Basically anything in that container, I will put it on the table to be like, I'm going to handle this. And so often it will sit there for weeks.
100%. Yeah. I do that too, to a degree. Like, I'm good at throwing out the stuff that's clearly, like, I clearly don't need or don't want, but there is some mail that I have right here that needs to,
Yeah, the stuff that we need to handle.
yeah. But the thing is, sometimes these things need to get handled. You're calling into, so I have to call into, I have an LLC, and I see they're expecting me to pay for like taxes, but my LLC hasn't recorded any revenue, right? It's been more for like a tax write-off thing. So I call into the place today, and they tell me that I have to email them. You have to send them email. There's no one to pick up the phone. So it's little things like that, or I'll call in and then being on hold for 40 minutes before I get somebody on the phone. So it's just like some of these things need to get handled, definitely take some time. And it's finding that time where that can be done without taking away from something else too much. I think that's my biggest thing that I juggle with stuff like that. So my workaround with that has been maybe like on a weekend, if I follow up on time, I can call, or maybe either I'm watching TV, or maybe I'm meditating or doing something, keep the volume on low, because they play that elevator music, and then once somebody says something, then I can come online and take care of it. But yeah, those little things like that, man. And those things will get louder. Sometimes it could be an Easy Pass ticket. Maybe my Easy Pass ran out, for example, and or I get a toll sent, right? Whatever it is. And if you don't pay, they tack on a $50 fee, et cetera, et cetera. Then if you get enough of those, then they can actually take action. So it's like little things like that I'm getting better with, but there's still a room for improvement for sure.
I think that's the beauty of all of this, is the game and the dance of just living and experiencing, growing and learning and adjusting where you can. Because for the longest time I saw it as this, oh, I gotta do these things. But now I finally started seeing it as, cool, how else can I grow? How else can I refine? And that has become this really beautiful process that I am almost in the state of, how was I functional before? Was I functional before? I don't know. Clearly I was. I'm still alive. I made it here. I made it this far.
One of my prayers, Jaguar, that I've been saying recently in the past few months, and I can tell it's been helping me definitely the past month, is I say, Holy Spirit, can you help me to enjoy, see the divinity within, see the lessons within, and embody my higher self within all the heavenly things, the godly things, all the worldly things, all the light things, all the dark things, all the masculine things, all the feminine things, all the expansive things, all the less than expansive things, all the prosperous things, all the less than prosperous things, right? All those, so that I'm seeing it, I'm enjoying it all. I'm staying, but yet I'm keeping my direction through it all. And so what I've been noticing is, as those more tedious things, right, come up that I might used to push to the side, I'm finding more joy in actually tackling them. Because if you say a prayer like that and you mean it, like you'll start to feel it come true. So that's been a beautiful thing that I've noticed.
And I love that you said about enjoying it all, the light, the dark, masculine, feminine, all of it. Because I feel that so many people in like growth spaces get bad raps, and some earn bad raps because they're in this, it's all light and love. No, it's not. It's really not. And then one thing that drives me bananas is when people are like, and I had to leave the 5D to just go to my 3D job, and I just hate it. I want to escape from that. No, you're here for that.
Yeah.
That's all part of it. We left other places to come here for this. So be here, be in all of it. And I was talking with Kevin and a few other people. I think it was right before phase 2 of CIT ended. And we were all joking about that. And he said this incredible thing of how, what do you mean you're operating in D? What do you mean you're functioning in D? You're not even pooping on a regular schedule, and you think you're functioning in 5D? You're still here on the planet having the same experience as we are. And I thought that was so beautiful. Because I feel that There's so many people who are in this kind of growth or spiritual space as just another form of escapism. And I think it's part of what I have to work through with like my judgment towards like the quote unquote like spiritual woman. I've been with a couple of women who very much consider themselves spiritual, and each are incredible for their reasons and each have their challenges for their own reasons. But like one consistency I found was specifically with the women that I've been with or been interested in was massive lack of ownership. There might be a flavor of it or a bit of it or an eventuality once things get really, really loud. And then, but it has brought to light just how prevalent that like aspect of escapism can be still even in this kind of realm. And so I really appreciate that your prayer is about enjoying all of it. The like the high, the low, the hard, the soft, the light, the heavy,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I just want to bring you back to authenticity, man. Like every space, and like that's something that I'm really honing on for myself is just getting real with myself, and like that is that my authentic voice? Is that like my actual truth? Is that the truth? Right? As you talk about in the creatorhood, like what is that? Because regardless what the space is, there could be authenticity anywhere. The church, the spiritual space, at work. If authenticity is the strongest vibration, strongest frequency, like why would we not want to be at our strongest at all times, right? And I know I'll speak for myself. I do feel at my strongest when I'm taking that ownership. I'm taking that ownership over something, over responsibilities, over things that need to get handled. I definitely feel like I'm at my strongest. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, my question too is like, when do you feel at your strongest? Is it when you're taking ownership? Is it when you're not? Is it when you're hiding? Is it when you're facing what needs to be faced? Like, when do you feel at your strongest? Which version do you prefer? For yourself. And I think these are questions that, at some level we have to answer because we decide who we want to be and how we want to show up.
Agree. I think that's a beautiful place to wrap it up.
Thanks for tuning in to Building Consciousness with Jaguar and Jay, where we explore spiritual concepts and aim to break them down in a practical way for everyday use. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on future content. If you have thoughts or questions, drop a comment below or connect with us on Instagram, jdoss545 and build_with_Jaguar. We love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, we are the authors of our own reality. This is Jaguar and Jay, signing off.